It's not a comment, it's just
It's funny because even
It's a lovely, intimate group. I begin today by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today and pay my respects to the elders past and present. I extend that respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. Well, I'd like to just introduce our president, or what is she called? President? What's she called? Premier? Queen B of AASP. She's done a pre-recording for us of a welcome, so I'll leave it to Anna to say hello. Hopefully she's coming soon. We did test this. That's it. That's it. Anna's in Melbourne, by the way.
I'm sorry, I forgot to bring in my
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our networking event tonight for the Association of Aged Service Professionals. My name's Anna Lawton and I'm the current chair of the association. It was back in 2015, very late in the year, that 7 passionate aged care professionals met as a steering group to establish this association. And our goal back then is the same as it is now, to be the benchmark for aged service professionals, advocating always to raise the standards of professional excellence for the benefit of the older consumer. We stand for integrity, honesty and ethics, and in the services we offer the consumer, we want to be the standout group of members who uphold those values. Members of our association are expected to have a commitment to the sectors that they operate in, to actively seek to remain up to date on all changes and be valued as competent professionals who deliver a quality service to their clients. We run 4 general meetings a year, including our AGM. Now, these general meetings are the official side of the association, where we provide updates on what the committee is doing on the association's behalf, what subcommittees might be available, events, activities that might be coming up. But also we have a guest speaker at these meetings to provide some professional development for everyone. These are held in person in Melbourne and online for everyone else. However, if there's anyone interstate who would like to be a host for your local members for these meetings, and perhaps you have a boardroom or something similar to share, it'll need to have video conferencing capabilities, but please feel free to reach out to us in the committee. It doesn't have to be a long-term commitment, it could just be for one meeting if you'd like to give that a go. The expectation is all members attend at least 3 out of 4 of these official meetings. Been very lenient over the last 2 to 3 years, for obvious reasons, but I think it's important now we reset and commit to participating in association meetings again. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. This year we've added in a webinar program to support each other, to enhance people's knowledge, to encourage everyone to be better. And when we're better together, we can be a better choice for our consumers. We have a wealth of knowledge among us, many subject matter experts. And it's exciting that our webinar program is exclusively run by members for members. All sessions are available to watch back at your convenience via the website. And these are all written and shared by your fellow members who wanted to support everyone's professional development. And I'd like to thank all those who've presented this year. We're really grateful for your time, effort and shared knowledge. Not to say that they're giving away everyone your own personal business secrets, but it's really lovely that you're sharing pieces of gold that will support everyone be better at what they're doing. In terms of our association, we have a wonderful mix of professionals, from placement consultants, financial specialists, estate planning lawyers, allied health, home moving planners, property, home care providers, Centrelink, counsellors, wellbeing, There's so many, and I've probably missed some, so sorry about that. Together, we really do support each other to be that better choice. We've also, in recent years, welcomed associate members to be in our group, and we really value these associate members. They're employed by aged care providers or are consultants to providers, and they equally wish to be a better choice for the consumer in their roles, to be innovative and raise the bar for residents in their care. Our membership is held individually because we believe that personal character is crucial to delivering ethical and professional services in line with our values. It also means that if you join and then change jobs or companies, that your membership moves with you rather than remains with your employer, enabling you to maintain your connection with the association. Just don't forget to update us with your change, because otherwise your emails won't get to you. We're run by members for members, so please, tonight is also an invitation to get involved. We exist because of each other, and we thrive because we're surrounded by experts in their fields who share useful knowledge. The more you get involved, the better we can make the group. And a night like tonight happens only because of the dedication of our current committee members. So special thanks to Danielle, your host, and Karen for supporting the New South Wales event tonight. A big thank you to our hosts as well, Alteris, for offering up your fabulous room, and to Liza, Lee and Dave for organising Melbourne. And just on the committee, we're about to begin planning for the new year. We're going to put out a survey for some members feedback. We need ideas for what you'd like us to focus on, what topics you'd like to hear about, what topics you would like to present on. We have a few spots left for webinars throughout the year. If there's demand for more to put on, then we'll do that, but please get in now and we'll schedule them for the year, so please get in touch. We're very keen to keep this program running, but it can only exist if people contribute and offer up some of their time. It can be any time of the day. It can be a breakfast meeting, a lunch meeting, a dinner meeting. We've tried all sorts and can provide you with feedback on what works the best. Anyway, that's enough for me. Enjoy tonight. For those who haven't joined, we hope that tonight convinces you to join our association. Get on our website, sign up, get involved, and have a great night. Thanks, everyone.
So that was pre-recorded, so she's not live. That's all right. For those who don't know me, I think everyone does know me, actually, because I think they've all come here tonight through my network, I suppose. But yes, so I'm Danielle Robertson, DR Care Solutions, and also lead care consultant and subject matter expert at Care and Living with Mercer, which is a side gig that I'm helping grow and support many millions of Australians. And we've got 4 of our team here from Mercer tonight. So reach out and have a chat with them and hear what we're doing. I'd just like to bring Andrew Biviano. Where are you? Oh, there you are, right there, to the stage. He's just going to have a bit of a chat about what Altiris are doing. And I also wanted to thank him so much for the opportunity to be in the hub tonight. This is only a very new acquisition for them, or a move for them, and we love it. And thanks for arranging all the food and the staff to help and support us grow this association. So I'll give you a few minutes to talk about what you guys are doing and how you do it, and over to you.
Thank you, Danielle. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to be able to host such an event. And I say this with a lot of sincerity, in the sense that it's wonderful to be part of an industry organisation where aged care helping people through the aged care decisions is such an important part of someone's retirement phase, and one of the most important decisions they're all going to face. I run a team of 6 advisors and support staff with client service managers across Sydney and Brisbane. And over a 12-month period, we help somewhere in the order of about 1,000 families understand some of the different financial implications a move to aged care is going to cause them to think about as they get into a situation where many of the family members I'm pushed or forced into a situation by virtue of a reaction to a scenario or an event. And many of them think of it as a medical emergency, but seldom do they stop to think and pause about what that means from a financial perspective. My job and my team's job is to try and give those families that scenario where they pause, reflect, and then go, how do we now reshape the world in front of us to prioritise what's important, to make sure mum or dad gets the best experience possible. That is our sole purpose when we're helping people. And it's not always easy, because through that time, one of the first interactions we have is generally people have received a brochure, or someone said, hey, speak to Alteris because they have a specialist team of advisors who solely focus in this space. And then as part of that, they spend the first 20 to 30 minutes talking emotionally to the team about where the pressure, where the concerns, and helping to unpack some of the conflicts they have internally as a family as they're starting to realise the reality of that's facing them right in front of them as the next step, which is preparing someone to go into care. They're then sitting in a situation where they're worried about these accommodation payments, not understanding how it all comes together, and that becomes a barrier. Our job is to try and remove part of that barrier. Part of that job is to help people to understand that whilst there's a number of rules and regulations within the aged care world, there's a number of different ways and flexibility that can be designed to help them achieve the outcomes that they're trying to do. And we do that over a series of meetings where the team, and the common word they hear from me is give people time. Give people time in a first meeting to listen. Wait until after that meeting until you start offering different solutions, because what they want to tell you is what they want to achieve right up front. Once you listen to that, you can then take away with a little bit of insight and use your experiences to help that family figure out what is going to be the best approach. During that second meeting, where they go back, it's about rechecking that things are still the same. We know that within a 7-day period, things can change quite rapidly in the aged care market for clients going into care. Our job is to make sure that we recheck and then reassess and help them make sure they're still familiar and comfortable with some of those initial questions and points that they made right up front. Once we get through that, we then give them the options to help them make those decisions. And seldom do we run into a situation that people can't afford the place that they're choosing. What they need is someone to give them the confidence to know that they can do that, but not run out of money, because that's one of the key concerns that we find from a lot of the power of attorneys is what happens if I can't afford it or mum can't afford it? Do I now have to pay? Giving them confidence around that makes this transition. You can't take away the pain, right? But what you can do is make it a little bit easier for people. And if that is the purpose of what we're trying to do, that's amazing. And that's what I keep talking to our team about. The other part is it doesn't stop when you go into care. One of the key queries or key conversation points we have with people is, I'm now in care, I've started to fill out the paperwork, I'm starting to get information requests from the government, and I don't understand what to do with it or how to respond to it. Helping people to understand that is an important part. When we work with different aged care facilities, one of the key parts that we think is really, really important is finding out where the pain points are for the aged care facility and try and help mitigate some of those. So in situations where the clients will come and ask the aged care facility about what does my first invoice look like, or how does this fee come up? Why have I got a means tested care fee of $300 and something because I've got a means not disclosed? What does all that mean? Our job is to get in there and take that pressure off the aged care facility and take that responsibility and help clients understand that. And they value that. They value that immensely. Why? Because what we can then do is refer back to the different papers that we've provided them to help them understand that we prepared them for that. Just that, like anything, when you're facing with a lot of other issues, it's really easy to forget certain aspects. So we go back and we walk through the paper and help unpack, this is what it's going to look like, and this is what the road ahead's going to be. And I think part of that is we end up being with most of our clients that take on our full service for somewhere between 12 months to 2 years. And that's because that's how long it takes for people to feel comfortable after they go through that initial reaction of, I've got to put mum or dad into care. The finances are all changed. This is brand new. And after that period, people are generally more confident to take control of their situation again. And I think that's what we do. I hope you didn't mind me sharing some of those aspects. Part of what we do is we do work directly with aged care facilities and retirement village. We actually work with other financial planners too. And a lot of that space is what we try and do is support those other financial advisors, accountants and solicitors with helping them provide a specialist service to actually help the client through that stage and then hand them back that client so they can continue to look after them as part of their client book moving forward. But they get rid of they remove the aspect of having to deal with the aged care scenario, but being able to support that client by giving them different choices through using a different professional in that space. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to expand a little bit on what we do. And I really enjoy being part of the association. And Danielle, thank you very much. And I'm heading back to you now.
Got to check I'm in the middle. You didn't put even a cross on the floor. So it's my very great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker this evening. Now, Meredith and I met, maybe, I don't know, 8 weeks ago. But we were sitting and having a chat and I'm going, oh my God, I've got an event and I want you to come and speak it. And she's going, really? And I said, yeah. What you're doing is amazing. So I'll give you a bit of her bio. But the reason why I've invited her to here today is that a lot of home care providers are very short of staff. We've got a workforce shortage in Australia at the moment. And what Meredith's brought to Australia is a unique, innovative model, social care model. But I'll just read your bio so that I don't get it wrong. She's got 35 years experience, nearly as much as me. It's actually more than that. 38, so you are more than me, gosh. Experience in government, not-for-profit and profit-for-purpose sectors, improving social outcomes through evidence-based best practice in disability, aged care, mental health and adult guardianship and financial management. She has a passion for purpose, human rights and social change, and believes in the power of relationships and intentional partnerships to achieve extraordinary outcomes. She's committed to improving circumstances and building capacity through innovation, sector and government advocacy, and committed to the power of disruptive technology to expand possibilities, outcomes and create critical safeguards. Throughout her career, she's strived to raise the voice of people, children, young people, adults and older Australians who may be vulnerable due to circumstance and bring about a positive impact. She thrives on influencing in collaboration with sector experts, government stakeholders and the community to achieve optimum outcomes for people and their communities. She has experience working in both highly reactive and strategic environments in aged care, NDIS and other social care arenas with the goal of empowerment with safeguards, collaborative advocacy and uniting in purpose. She's a highly skilled communicator, thank God, with a core belief that dialogue cannot occur without relationships and that relationships are at the core of every successful collaboration. Thought leader, people lover, human rights advocate, aged care, disability care and mental health champion, collaborator, disruptor, self-management evangelist. Please welcome Meredith Coote.
She forgot exhausted. Should have gone at the front. Thank you so much for the invitation, Danielle, and for the new friends. Oh, on the spot, sorry. If I walk around, just say, come back this way. New friends that I've made tonight, and for the opportunity just to talk about really what we're doing. That was too much in terms of profile, but essentially, yes, I have worked in aged care and disability my entire career, and a lot of that was in guardianship, adult protection and financial management. For all that you may think about the public trustee and guardian, I was there at the beginning, okay, when it was good. Things changed. And I guess what that gave me is an extraordinary insight into what happens in people's lives, in all of our lives, often when we don't expect it. And having worked with really passionate people my whole life, I decided to get out of the tent being government, and do some work that was, I guess, a little bit more quicker, able to not be so bureaucratic, be more innovative, and work more within community. So that was the big decision. And part of that was I was the general manager of Mabel, which is the care and support platform. So that was really my lean in to a passion for self-management and how that works. And I can speak to you later about what that really should look like in time. So let me introduce you to community circles. Basically, this is about bringing back the village, which I think we all need to do because we're very isolated, we're a bit lonely, and life isn't quite what we thought it might be. Well, that's for me. Anyone else agree? Okay, shakes of heads. It's about living better, more connected lives. We've taken this statement from Social Care Future in England because we don't think that the statement can be improved, which is that we all want to live in a place we call home with the people and things that we love in communities where we look out for one another, doing the things that matter to us. It's kind of a pretty good goal. I probably should have got the clicker from you, but if I go like this, just keep pressing. So what's a community circle? And you can have these slides if you want them. Essentially, circles help people live better, more connected lives. It's not that surprising. They belong and they're co-designed by the person at the centre, who is the older person in this circumstance. It's an organised group of chosen people, essentially, who work together to help someone live well, working out what matters to them. The difference is that there's a fully trained and coached facilitator who actually helps bring those conversations together, which is really important, but brings everyone in someone's life together because the service system is quite fractured at the moment. So it's a way to those really important things that Andrew talked about. It's about trying to bring conversations not when we're in crisis and having them much earlier in the process. So circles essentially can help fill that gap between paid services, and many of you would know that's a 90% gap. So only about 10% of people's lives are filled with services. So there's a lot of space to do some fun stuff in, to reduce loneliness, to get informal supports much more activated. So often they're there, but they need a little bit of orchestrating so that they're doing intentional things with somebody, and they add more safeguards to people's lives, which has become more and more critical. For those of you that know the Anne-Marie Smith case in NDIS last year, does anyone know of the case? So it's really truly informed aged care. It was a 55-year-old woman who was living in Adelaide who had a fully funded NDIS package and had one worker carer coming in every day, and she died in the same cane chair that she'd lived in for 1 year, basically rotting to death. So this created an alarm for everybody. It should have created an alarm before that, because I obviously worked at the pointy end of the sector where we saw many of these cases. But I think what both aged care and disability have realised is that providers aren't enough. I think we all know that. But we all know of families that say, Mum's got an aged care package now. She's fine. It's actually 10 hours. Maybe it's 15. If you're self-managing, you could stretch it to 20, but it's not adequate for anyone to live at home with complex care needs. So what can we do about that? Okay, I'm going to show you a little video because a picture tells 1,000 words. Please meet Mario and Amelia.
I'm Mario. I'm 79, a retired accountant. I've been living in this house with my wife Amelia for 55 years. We love our grandkids and cooking. Amelia loves knitting, but life's been getting a bit tough since Amelia was diagnosed with dementia. Amelia's on a home care package, but that only covers a couple of hours on weekdays. The rest of the time, I am her carer. And it's tiring, because I'm getting a bit slower myself. Someone suggested we look at residential care, but we don't want to leave our home or be separated. So I do everything I can to make sure we can stay in our home together. Our daughter Bella lives an hour away. She calls every day and visits often with the grandkids. They really cheer Nonna up. Amelia can't be left alone now. I've had to stop playing lawn bowls, and I'm also the club's treasurer, but finding time to do that is a struggle. We have friends and neighbours drop by. They ask if we need anything, but there's just so much to do and I don't want to be a bother. Then Bella told me about community circles. She says it's a program to bring together family, friends and volunteers in our community who would support us to live at home just the way we want to. Bella showed me how it works. It starts with what we would like support with and how we can connect with people who would like to help. I guess it's an organized way to help us with the everyday. And there's even an app to keep things on track. It was music to my ears. Plus, it would stop Bella worrying so much about us. We arranged for a community circles facilitator to visit. We mapped out our trusted circle, our neighbor Jenny, Fabian from the bowling club, Shani, Amelia's knitting friend, Bella, and our oldest grandson Joe. Everyone got a role based on what they could offer, and everyone felt special being asked. I can even use my iPad to see which tasks have been done and who's coming to help. Bella can check too, which means she doesn't have to ring me all the time. Shani now knits with Amelia. Jenny takes her on a walk and shopping. Fabian helps with the handyman stuff and Joe does the lawns. I'm back playing bowls and I'm on top of the club's books again. Amelia and I are so much happier. Thanks to community circles, we now have the right support to have a good life at home, and we love being connected to our community.
Carers are the big forgotten part as well. So I sit on the on Carers Australia steering committee to help carers go back to do the things they love, and so we're obviously looking at circles as part of that solution. Next slide, thank you. So essentially it is about bringing back the village. It's about using resources really well. And so one of the things that I will treasure my time at Trustee and Guardian and Public Guardian was that ability to sit down with the family and say, what are all the assets in your life? And we weren't just talking about the financial ones, we were talking about the relationship, social capital, the neighbours, all the things in your life that can help you live the way you want. It's not just about the package, it's about all those other things. So we're really using, I think, those principles in circles. Thank you. So essentially it's about fostering a set of capabilities so each and every one of us can thrive. We don't just want to survive when we get old, we want to thrive, ensuring where necessary that we're supported in the face of adversity and it's not that last minute crisis when mum has a fall, that we include as many people as possible. So abundance is our key. It's not just about one great neighbour. Think about how many people we have in our lives who support us to do the things we love. Friends of friends that know someone that can fix that lamp that we love because our mother gave it to us, someone who can help take the car down or drive us home because we've had it fixed. It's about abundance, and that's what villagers did. They looked out for each other. So we need to bring that back. Thank you. It's not happening. Don't know what happened. Go back one. Press. Oh, okay. Not on the screen, that's okay. And measuring the outcomes around the sense of happiness that someone has, the sense of purpose that they have, and this piece about reciprocity. So how can we actually contribute to each other and understand that sometimes there's a very slight boundary between the helper and the helpee. And when circles work really well, you're helping each other. And older people, just like us, I want to stop talking about older people and talk about ourselves because this is one thing we're all going to do. Some of us faster than others, but we're all going there. So let's not other, we'll stop othering. All of us want to keep doing the things that we love and contributing all of the skills and strengths that we have. So why should it stop just because we're older? Thanks, Jo. So we started a partnership with Helen Sanderson in the UK. So Helen had been running community circles for about 12 years. It's obviously run through the council program, so it's a little different. I'd used circles. I worked for a traditional provider doing a home care transformation about 5 years ago. And so I'd used her work probably for the last 10 years. She's like the queen of person-centred practice. So I went to Helen and said, can we partner to bring the best parts of your model to here and then to change them for our social care? So that's really what that relationship was about. What we want is for circles to be ordinary, so part of everyone's life. In disability, many of you may have heard, circles of support have existed for years. They're just probably, I've been on 15 over the last kind of 20 years, but they were often run by, the worn out mother of the disabled child who didn't have much time and was actually really exhausted, as opposed to we were thinking, how can we bring it into the social care system and actually make it a role that's important, that's recognised, that's valued and that's paid. So the members wouldn't be paid, but the person running it would, because some people in disability particularly and in aged care, there's so many underutilised funds often. In disability, you might find that you're running a circle and someone has $100,000 sitting in the back row. And actually they could be using that on these fundamental changes that a circle can make, which I'll talk about. So essentially we know that relationships are the foundation of good lives. We really, the ethos, I guess, of circles is that we want to do things that are important to us, not just important for us. Really important distinction. And as we get older, it's all about, well, you really need to do this. But what about, actually, I don't care about all that stuff that I have to do. It's the things that I want to do that will keep me happy and increase my well-being. We also want to do things that matter to us. It's not all about what's the matter with you. It's actually the first thing you should be saying is what matters to you, because from that will come the things that we have to do. So this scaffolding of paid support with things and people that matter is the key. So one of the key things that happens when we're older, and I'm sure for many of you, you've seen it in your parents, you may even be experiencing it yourself, and that's that people start to make assumptions that they know what you want, and they know who your friends are, and they know how you want to spend your time. So imagine for a moment that your ability to make that phone call to the people you love, to get to the people that you love was taken away, and imagine that someone else is going to make those decisions for you. We're trying to have those conversations again and say, what will make you happy? Well, actually, I really miss my best friend. Why aren't you seeing her? She moved into a nursing home and I haven't seen her for 8 weeks. Why aren't we putting that on the top of the list? Because that's the well-being piece that will keep someone's identity going. They had a really good relationship. So it's making sure that those things continue to happen. So all the research says we kind of only need 3 things. It's actually quite simple to stay happy. We need someone to take care of those little things. Home care providers do not change light bulbs. Who knew? So during COVID, we got calls from local councils for 50 people, and because their families were in lockdown areas and they couldn't visit, their lights had gone out in their hallways and their bathrooms. Nobody could change them. Nobody. We called the government. We said, who could do this? Oh, we've given $3 million to these advocacy organisations. We'll call them. They don't want to call. They want their light bulb fixed. So we went to the men's shed and we went to organisations in the local area and said, can someone come change some light bulbs? They're like, sure. But that's the really important stuff, because you know that if you don't have a light bulb in your bathroom, you will fall and you will end up in a nursing home. So it's those little things that's actually really important. We need good company and people who share our interests, because that's what makes us sane and makes us who we are. And we need to provide support to keep up with the things, activities of people that we love. It's not a difficult recipe. And our paid support should fit in the middle. At the moment in aged care, I know one church that I'm working with where there's 6 workers that sit outside that church on a Sunday morning getting paid, you can imagine, $120 an hour for 4 hours. Those women have given up 2 showers a week so they can go to church. Not one of those providers has gone inside and said, who drives past Darling Street on Sunday morning? Could someone please pick Mrs. Smith up? So I did. Went to church. I've been to more churches in the last year than ever. And I said, so who does drive past Darling Street? 20 hands. And I said, okay, could you pick her up next week? You can drop her off. It's just this tiny little thing, right? But after 8 weeks of picking Mrs. Smith up, they're starting to go and have a coffee, and they're starting to go home via the shops, because guess what? I can pick up that meal that you don't have. They're starting to go over for dinner or asking them over for dinner. So it's this connection. It's actually the connection. And for some reason in the world that we live in, that needs to be facilitated. So it's not magic, but it's purposeful. And I think that's the important piece. Thank you. So it's run on a model called a support sequence. This is a strengths-based model. It won't be surprising to you, but it goes from the least to the most resources, not the least important to the most important, but in terms of strengths. So the first one is, when we need help, we look to ourselves. What is it that we can do to increase our confidence? What else can we do to increase our knowledge that we're able to do? The next is technology. It's the cheapest, easiest thing to do. We know that lots of people in the cohorts that we're working with at the moment aren't quite ready or don't want to do it, and that's fine. But as we all get older, you know what we will need to do with technology. My one really big point about technology is that we have to be really careful about the human rights around it. So lots of the people that we work with have no idea that their service provider is actually monitoring them, that they're taking their blood pressure, that they're monitoring who goes in and out of their house so they can meet their compliance. That older person has no idea that's happening. So we really have to make sure that technology never removes a valued service from somebody, and that the people receiving it always understand what's there and what's being available for them and why it's being used. Equipment and adaptation. So are there any products or equipment that can help keep you safe and well at home? The physical changes, all those things that we do to make sure that we're able to have good access. And the family, friends and neighbours is the intentional piece. So yes, we all have family, friends and neighbours, but we don't all use them as we should. So it's literally about sitting around with those people that you've chosen, and it may not be your family. We do have older people that go, I don't want them. I want these other people, and that's fine. And saying, okay, let's have a look at what does that perfect week look like? How can we use resources differently? Well, actually, this person comes and takes me for coffee. How much does that cost? $200. Well, maybe we could think about going for coffee with someone who actually isn't paid to be with you. So it's literally thinking really carefully about how do we use our resources, limited as they are, really well, and thinking about outcomes. So if I want my house cleaned, I should get a cleaner, not use a person who has a Cert 3 or 4 in individual support. They may not be able to clean. So thinking carefully about the outcomes I want and then going backwards to think about what's the best person to use for that outcome. Community, so this is a big piece in NDIS, that tier 2 bit that they're talking about now, that is why it's not sustainable. It's because we didn't put tier 2 in, and what that is using community and mainstream supports. The number of times we say to people in a circle, what do you love to do? Bingo, I'm going off to the provider's bingo hall and I'm being charged $100. There's bingo down the road at the council, and maybe it's a call bingo that's within language. And so once again, that community mapping about how can we learn what's in our community that we could be using. I have so many people that say, I loved my physiotherapist. I've been seeing him for 10 years. He was kind of my safeguard, and he'd ring my daughter when I wasn't well, but I'm with a provider now and I have to use theirs. Once again, let's pause, think about the outcome and question why we're making those decisions really carefully. Talked about, so services and settings are what's in the local community. And the last one, not because it's the least important, is paid support, because it's the least, right? So we talk to people about if they're eligible for funding. They may not be there yet, but if they are they getting choice and control? Are services coming when they want? Are they actually getting the outcomes that they want? And so we can think more carefully about how we use all of those resources together. Make sense? Any questions about it? Sorry, I'm moving out of camera.
Yes, I've just got a question.
Yes.
I mean, it's fantastic, the idea of it. How do people let such a service in?
Can I get there at the end? Let's put that on the, can you write that down? Thank you. So we're essentially trying, we believe that to make change, you have to work differently. We know that there's a supported home program that's on the table at the moment, and there's still problems with it. So, the old system is about fixing a problem. We want to grow a good life. Instead of managing need, we want to develop capability from everybody, not just the older person, but their neighbours, all of us. How do we teach our children to notice differently? How do we teach everybody to look more compassionately around our communities? Instead of a transactional culture, above all relationships, because that's what keeps us living. Instead of just auditing money, we need to connect multiple forms of resources and capital. Instead of containing risk, we need to create possibility. Closed and targeted, we have to take care of everyone, because that's our job. So who can benefit? Everybody can benefit. So older people, so just starting to need a little bit of help. My vision is, are you ready? That if you notice that your mum was starting to struggle, you go into My Aged Care if you can find it. And the first thing you'd be offered is a circle. So if you can imagine when you finally get your package 6 or 8 or 9 months later, how different your package would look if your circle had already been activated. You'd be thinking about what services should I pay for based on the outcomes, the skills, the qualifications that I need. So that's my dream. I'm getting there. Waiting for assessment with or without funded support. In between assignment of a package, waiting for allocation, and people with a package who obviously, guess what, 12 hours often isn't enough to keep us at home. Obviously people with disability and mental health, carers, as you saw with Mario. So some people might have 2 circles, one for the carer and one for the person, or it might be just a joint circle. But important to know that some meetings are just about the carer, because we all know if the carer can't do it anymore, we know what the next step is. So it's so important to share that care. And I guess one of the lovely outcomes I've seen in circles is this lovely supported decision-making piece that's kind of floated to the surface. We're working with a woman in Hunters Hill the other day, and her daughter's kind of my age, trying to keep her at home as long as possible. She's still trying to work, you know the story. And we started a circle, and the lady asked for her best friend who's in a nursing home who gets to come over once a month and spend the afternoon with her, and her dead husband's best friend, and the neighbour who's constantly going, I'm happy to help. And it's only taken 3 meetings for these 3 friends to say to the daughter, we didn't know how hard it was. So we know she probably can't die at home because the house is falling down, but give us 6 months. Like now we know that you want to go to Pilates on a Tuesday. The neighbour's like, I'll come and have dinner with her. Not I'll come and drop dinner off, but I'll come and have dinner with her. So it's interesting watching people raising the voice of the person at the centre, bringing other voices to that decision, and other people basically sharing that care, which means that the carer doesn't feel quite so alone. It's really important. And short term, you can imagine coming out of hospital, you need that help for, you know, we did it with a person with cancer recently. We got the food going, people taking their kids to school. So basically, who doesn't need a circle is my question. Yeah. I dare you to put your hand up. Okay, thank you.
What if the family thinks you really need a circle
And you don't want one?
and the older people go, oh, everything's perfectly fine, nothing to see here.
Yeah.
As if the house is falling around their ears and, you know, they can't drive. It's just a disaster. But they're going, no.
So the authority, it's a really good question. The authority is really important. And yes, we do have lots of daughters thinking this could really help me. But we'll just go and meet and have a chat. And the tools that we use through the model are person-centered tools, and they literally take you through what's a good day and a bad day and what's working and what isn't. And so out of these tools comes to the surface, oh, you'd like to be seeing Phil more because Phil's a great guy, or, you know, or you lost your license but going to Mahjong was really important to you. So how do we do that? So it's often quite challenging to have had no one and then have a full circle. And so what we've done is, I'll tell you in a minute, but we've created this kind of 2-hour club. So if you can imagine a circle, ready? Here's your circle. And it's stretched out, then it's a continuum. And so at the very beginning, we've started to connect people to do something they like. And so we're working with a priest recently, just retired, 92, different area, knows no one, wasn't ready for a circle, but I said, what do you want? He said, I want to walk around the bay with someone who loves politics. I'm like, Phil, if I actually, mission accepted. And so after 3 weeks of finding a couple of people around and a guy from church and just putting out some feelers, they walked around the bay. I was only, not the whole bay, can I just say, it's a long way. And after 6 weeks, one of the members of this little walking group fell over and she had no one in her life. There was her circle. They were all like, oh, we'll go to the hospital, we'll come home. We're like, it was extraordinary. So yes, we meet people where they are. And if you come into my life and want to meet with me, that's 100% better than it was yesterday. So it's really organic and it's really individual, and no 2 circles look the same. So it's really important. So essentially we're connecting formal and informal supports. That's really all we're doing. It's not magic. So we talk about right support, paid or unpaid. These are the decisions we want people to think about. So should it be paid or unpaid? So thinking about the use of resources. If I'm looking for a friend or I want companionship, should I be paying for that? Now, when it starts off, maybe I have no one. The job of that support person should be, like I used to do at Mabel, is say to independent workers, you walk Phil down the street, I'm sorry Phil, every morning or every time you're there at the same time. You want people to become the rhythm of their community so people recognise them and they'll notice when Phil isn't walking down the street. We introduce him to Jo, who's got some really lovely flowers that he used to have in his garden. She's also got a dog that he used to have. And so you don't go, no, I'm Phil's support worker. You say, Phil's, you know, we're starting to get out more. We're exercising more. And your goal is over the next 6 weeks that Phil and Jo will start to have coffee on their own on a Tuesday morning. Whatever else they want to do is good. And that you can flip your time to another part of the day. So it's how you use those resources, and that person and that support worker's job is to activate people around them. It might be just to give them a shower, absolutely. But even then we say, why not turn a shower into a spa treatment? Why not put some of that dreadful Balinese music on, put some candles on, because everybody looks better naked with candles, and give them a wash and massage their hair. Like, there are so many opportunities here to do things differently if we think about the person and we think about what we'd want. I want a massage and a spa every morning. That's a different matter. So right skill. So if I am having personal care, it might be up to me. What skill do I need? Do I want a woman or a man? Do I want, is it something that they actually do need qualifications for? The right time, really important. And often that's the thing that's missing. I just want to go to Mahjong at 9 o'clock and they come at 11. And we say to them, there are 235,000 different providers out there. You could flip that. You could first of all ask, can it be changed? I promise you they won't sack you. And then you can start to look for a different provider to do that. Right place and for the right purpose. And I guess the last one is the right way. So we're really trying to say, how do we use those supports properly? So our 5 outcomes, I guess, are abundance. So using extra resources, using our social capital and our relationships so that we've got those connections streaming from all areas of our lives, living a life and not a service. We don't want to just suddenly become old. And what we find is, and I'm sure that you experience this, families will say, well, the provider's got it now, it's all up to them. We even have, so in COVID, we believe, after lots of research, the difference in why communities started to look out for one another is because they knew, because it was all over the news, that providers often couldn't turn up. And so they stopped asking for permission. Because previously, I'll ring your provider to see if I'm allowed to go and see Joe. It's like, well, you don't need permission from a provider to visit anyone. They're in your life for 10 or 12 hours. That's it. Like, do we need permission from your doctor to go and have a drink? No, we don't. So we've got to stop passing over our personhood to people and understand where their place is. They have an important place, absolutely. But to sign off all of their compliance, I had providers at the beginning of this journey, I'll call it a journey, 15 months ago say, well, we would need to please check everybody that comes into that circle. And I'm like, these are their neighbours. I don't know about you, but when you ask your neighbour for a police check before they come for a coffee, the friendship doesn't go far. We need to do what we all do. This is ordinary. This is just us as we get older. So let's make sure that we're emulating exactly what our lives look like and not trying to put, it doesn't mean that people aren't at risk. I worked at Public Guardian. I know what families can do to each other. But circles also create this lovely safeguard, and you start to notice that actually Uncle Bob's a little odd. Let's give him the job of dropping off the shopping when no one else is there. But the circle starts to notice that when someone comes in the room, that person isn't so happy. And so it starts to create this really lovely safeguard, because abundance means that we're all watching out for each other. We're not just relying on a relationship that may not be positive. Additional support for carers, as I said, this supported decision-making piece, so the person's voice at the centre. And that's regardless of capacity, right? Capacity is assumed, but it means that you have their voice firmly at the centre and everybody can talk about what those risks are together. I'll give you an example. I have a daughter who has a mental health, quite significant mental health challenge, and she recently told me at an 18-year-old she wanted to go on a Kentucky tour. Now you can all gasp. Which was my reaction. And my circle allowed her to go on that trip. They sent me out of the room. They talked about every safeguard she could possibly need. They had friends of friends in every country, and they were the ones that enabled her to, I mean, of course, she probably would have just gone, but she probably couldn't without our help. So together, we raised her voice, we minimised mine, we gave me some Valium, and sent me off to yoga a couple of times, but really raised her voice, brought really different ideas that we didn't have because we're being protectionist into the room about different ways to do things, and helped her have her wish. So supported decision making is at the centre of what we do, and this really important additional noticing and safeguards. So if someone's walking down the street every day or turning up at a cafe at the same time, other people will notice them. And if you do that regularly, then they become the extra safeguards in someone's life, not the worker that leaves you to die in your cane chair, or doesn't come that day. It's actually, we've had people call us and say, the shopkeeper, the barista, you know, where's Phil? Back to Phil. Where's Phil? Oh, he's in hospital. They've dropped off flowers. They've dropped off coffee. It's quite bizarre, but lovely. Next. So our newest relationship is with Skills IQ. So they create one of the organisations that create the competencies for training and all sorts of training in TAFE, but disability and aged care specifically, because what I wanted to do with Helen Sanderson's training, which I loved originally, is to elevate it. We all know where supported home is going and where NDIS is going, and there's this significant piece about skills. So it doesn't mean that we shouldn't self-manage. It means we need to become better consumers. And so the training that we wrap around a facilitator, we want it to be ordinary. So it could be any of you, it could be any neighbour, it could be someone that was a young person at TAFE, it could be a university student, it could be an older person who's just retired who says, I'd like to be a community facilitator. I don't know my community, I've just retired, I'd like to get to know people better. And so we provide that training for them to work with one person or 5 people, it's up to them. So the Skills IQ piece is developing the training and mapping it back to national training, accrediting it. The assessment, managing the data and approving compliance. And then community circles piece is all, so I guess I've taken all of the stuff about self-management that I wish was in place and I've put it in this model, which will give you a little hint of where I'm at with that. So I believe the coaching, I mean, I don't think that people can start working with someone regardless of if Phil and I both love stamps. If I don't understand what his aged care, let's make you young, what his disability package is about, it's not enough just to share same interests. I actually do need a skill set. So if he wants to be cooking with me, then I need to not only know how to cook, I need to know how to cook nutritional food that he needs. Maybe he's diabetic, maybe he wants to learn how to cook different things. So I need to know how to teach him. So there's a skill almost in everything we do with someone, maybe not gardening. But even a gardener in an aged care package needs to notice that maybe I haven't come out and said hi today, or I'm seeming like I'm a little bit not too with it and know who to call because they're being paid by someone who's come from the package. So it's kind of that piece. So our model is all about coaching people so they know what good looks like, giving them lots of support and communities of practice around every family. And if I went to each table and we did a circle, every circumstance would be different. And we know what families can be like. So people need support. So our the community circles part, once they've done their training, which we obviously help with, is it delivers this values-based recruitment piece for volunteers, community members, community facilitators and connectors, and I'll talk about those roles. We direct and manage the community of practice and we deliver those hours of supervision for people. So some people, we've got some grants from government at the moment and in 3 different councils, and some people just want to run one circle and kind of get this superpower. Other organisations that have volunteers, they might just randomly drop in and help people, but giving them this ability to help someone wrap people intentionally around their lives, to create abundance, to create more safety, more people will notice quicker when things aren't going well is really important. Thank you. Keep going. So I don't know if anyone knows the purple orange model of citizenhood, but basically these are the capitals that I was talking about. I won't go through it. I'll just give you one slide. But, you know, all of the things that we need to give it a good life are, you know, all of our personal capital. So our confidence and our potential and our strengths, particularly as we get older, we need to be reminded of those things because they get removed from us. Suddenly our daughters and our children start making decisions for us, even though no one's gone, hang on, she doesn't have capacity. She still has capacity, but I know best. So really important to remind people and to build, still doing capacity building, right? This third age piece, all the research shows that we rarely change our risk profile unless we're itinerant or homeless. However, as we get older, we need to look at what that life's been like, and that will give us lots of information about whether someone's, I was telling, I think Will earlier, that one of our clients at Trustee rang us and went, I'm in love with my cleaner. There are a few options here. Could be in love with their cleaner. Could have a UTI, could have early dementia, or could be undue influence from the cleaner. And so if you know about that person, that they've had 4 wives and a couple of race horses, and then it doesn't mean they're necessarily in love with their cleaner, but they could be. So it helps you go backwards. And so I find it much easier often in aged care than in disability, because in aged care you're re-abling and you've kind of got the story that you can stick to. So if Mr. and Mr. Smith have been on a cruise every 2 years for the last 30 years, you kind of know they like cruises. Whereas in disability, if you've never had the opportunity to develop your personhood, develop your likes and dislikes, it's kind of a buffet of life that you have to provide. So it's often easier in aged care. So essentially there's the person capital, the knowledge capital. So all of us have this role in limiting access to knowledge. Every provider that turns up to talk to someone gives them their lens of their information about what they're providing. And so it just happens, but it's important to be aware of it, and as much as possible, opening up that access or bringing in abundance of different people to give you different information is important. So using that, sorry, go back one. That's okay. And then material capital, obvious what that is. How do we maintain that wealth? How do we make sure that all of those assets are continuing to work for someone? How do we bring it all in if someone's suddenly dying of cancer? Once again, trustee and guardian, I'm going to die in 2 years. Can you bring everything in and buy all my kids a house? That's a good last wish. And social capital. So these 4 pieces have to come together. They're the things that give us a good life. And we should never look at them in isolation, because together they will create an abundance of resources. We just look at the money, we just look at the aged care. How many people have said to you, the aged care package 10 hours is not enough, and have full holiday houses? It's like, well, sorry, but maybe you have to give up a holiday house if you really want to stay at home. Here's the test, right? So essentially we help to sustain and maintain that older person citizenhood. So really helping them live that, thinking about all of the things in their lives with great joy and love as well. Paid and unpaid support have really important roles in maintaining that. So coming together and thinking once again, what's the outcome? How am I using that resource? And I guess to know people and to have contacts gives us that opportunity to fulfill all our needs and wants. They don't go away, right? They remain there. Why not have this thriving life? Why just survive? Thank you. It's not showing, isn't that odd? It did a minute ago. Okay. So we use the National Decision Making Principles. I have a half-finished PhD. If my children would ever leave home, I may finish it, but it's in support of decision making. And I guess the most important thing about those principles is number 2. We all know that we all have a right to make any decision, but it's that we all have a right to have the support to make that decision. So it's the support piece. And so circles enable this extra piece of support. They're not the only piece of support, but they enable those different conversations, and they help the family listen to what that person wants and whether that's realistic and is that okay. And it might be that the family don't agree and we go down that pathway. So it's not all roses and sunshine, but it enables the conversations to be had. And I think importantly, the legislation that is about to come out probably is going to talk about will and preference, not about best interest. So best interest, well, it's gone in most countries where guardianship's kind of disappearing. It will be about will and preference. So we have to know how Phil lived his life, what was important to him. We can't stand here anymore and go, we don't care about your love of skydiving. We actually think you shouldn't do it anymore. It's how can we maintain that is important. So just, okay, it will come. This is like this delay. So just gentle reminder. So we're obviously bringing in some of the recommendations from the Royal Commission, which really talked about how we can help people bring community together and live more active, more meaningful lives, and this real role of broadening the role of community. So the latest community visitor scheme, there's a grant out at the moment that we're looking at, but for us, it won't just be about how do we get some lovely Phil to come and visit me 20 times a year. It will be how can Phil help me create abundance in my life and connect me to other people, so I'm not just waiting desperately for his wonderful visit every second Friday. So there could be more. There could be abundant. There could be an abundance of Phils, right? That would be important. Thank you. Just quickly, what problem are we solving? It's what I talked about at the beginning. It's that, you know, your level 4 package is your 10%. It's the 90% we're looking at. So how can we look at all of our lives as we get older and fill that 90% in really, really well? So we're not just sitting around all day waiting for something to happen that's important to us. Delay. So the train facilitator piece is there's online training initially. As I said, there's coaching and mentoring. You can just get them all up if you like, because they'll be slow. Supporting the person's decision making. So the facilitator learns to use the tools, which essentially are, you know, what's working, what isn't, how do we need to change things, who do we need to bring into your life that may not be there. There's in that community circles of practice, there's lots of learning across the country, because as I said, every circumstance will be different, and safety is our priority. So all workers are screened to NDIS or aged care standards, and they have to complete elder abuse modules and boundary modules and all of those pieces that are really important for them to know how to go and help someone live their best life. might not do that one. Can you flick again? One more. So just the tools, things like good day, bad day, best tool in the universe. Put it up on your own fridge, actually. Put it up on your own fridge. Piece of paper, line down the middle, good day, bad day. Get your whole family to fill it in for a week. My kids did this for me. It was frightening. What made a good day for mum and what made a bad day? And I have to tell you, it's the richest piece of data with someone who's older that you'll ever get, because you'll find out actually when this particular worker came, it was a good day. When this one came, it was bad. When I came for dinner and had dinner with my mum, that made a good day. So you get this really lovely information. It's not about case planning. It's not about clinical needs. It's literally about how do I live more good days than bad days? How do I flip stuff? Sometimes I'm going to have my insulin injection or my chemotherapy or whatever it is that's in the bad day. How can we change it around so actually it feels better? True supports and art. So there's things like perfect week. And really the fascinating thing when you sit around with families and do this week roster is suddenly the other day a lady said to me, can you tell my granddaughter when she comes tonight that I don't want her coming on a Tuesday because my carer's there? I'm like, why can't you tell your granddaughter that yourself? I met her granddaughter, I understand. But so we met, and the granddaughter just looked at this sheet of paper and went, why do I come on a Tuesday night when you see no one for 3 nights? And so it's this very visual cue of there's all these spaces that I could think differently about. But also, and I'm sure you never have any of these families, where the daughter might be the one doing all the work, missing all their kids' soccer games, and there's a couple of other sons probably, or maybe other daughters in the family. It's this really good way for the carer to say, I haven't seen my kid's soccer game in 8 weeks. How about you turn up on Saturday? So yeah, a little bit of guilt tripping, but or sometimes I have had some clients recently say, can I just give $500 a month just to help? It's like, sure, put it, whatever you want into the bucket to help that person live well is fine. So the tools are a really important part of it. No idea what this is. Okay, so this is just a really lovely tool that we use around looking at what people are doing. So we say it's more important to go more places where someone knows more faces. So, you know, some workers will take someone out 9 different places in the week, but they're not consistent. They don't go there again. So this is about the safeguarding piece. This is about recognising someone. So for this one, what we do is we look at how many places someone goes to and how many faces they know in those spaces. So here, for example, if you can just press as I talk would be great. So the person knows the chemist. This is a really important thing, that workers and family don't start going to the chemist for someone. I know it sounds really helpful, but you'll ruin that relationship. It's really important for the chemist to say to Phil, how's that making you feel? And him to go, actually, I've been really dizzy since I started taking it. So that feedback loop that we remove because we think we're doing good is often a problem. So this is about keeping the person at the centre all the time. Does that make sense? Similarly, the other day, a lovely new neighbour started helping this lady do her shopping. That meant that she took the list, did her shopping, came back. After 2 weeks, the old lady came to us in the circle meeting and said, I love that you're doing my shopping, but it was the highlight of my week. I got to choose. That was my choice and control. That type of tomato sauce, that I love the guy at the veggie shop that always says hi, gives me a free broccoli. So the lady next door went, do you want to come with me? And she's like, yes. So once again, it's that what's the outcome we want and then move forward from that. So chemist is a really important one. So as I said, she knows the pharmacy and the pharmacist. So how can we help her keep that relationship going? Not by being too helpful. The vet clinic, so it might be that, or there might be they volunteer at church, but they can't keep going because they've got no one to take them. So how can you find people to make that happen? Ideally, not paying for a provider. I'm talking too long. Not paying for a provider to do it, but how can you get people from church to do it? Next one is neighbourhood. So slow. Attending a community garden with a support worker, but not going on a regular day. So you love gardening. Let's go on a day when we go, other people who all speak Italian or whatever are going, so that we're doing that mainstream piece that's not costing some package money. So ideally, maybe the person can go with their granddaughter or their grandson on another day. 2 more. So I might do online yoga. This is really common during COVID. People got some lovely relationships online, but actually they wanted to go and meet someone outside that. So how can I go and meet these people, their whole bodies in real life, and create that shrinkage that happens? How can I create more relationships for someone? And identity, this is a real story. So we had a worker take a an older person to a queer support group. She found this really cool queer support group, but she was not queer herself. It was kind of weird. She would go to the queer support group every week, and I'm sure she learnt a lot, but it would have been better to actually, she took her to a queer festival in the local area, but actually finding a group where she could take her to and leave her there and have her own identity was really important. So it's just this notion of trying to be helpful. Sometimes we remove people's rights and their dignity and their choice. I think we're nearly there, which means that you can ask questions. To our club, which I was going to mention. So this has really come out of the church piece, and people saying, look, I just want someone to do a couple of things with me each week. And so we've just basically gone round in a couple of our council areas and got a whole list of what would you like to do with someone. And you know, young people who are doing school and want to learn how to knit, going to an older person who knows how to knit, but it's literally not connecting them on the need, but connecting them on the interest. So we've got a couple of 2-hour clubs starting. What it means is 2 hours a month. I reckon, even me, we've all got 2 hours a month. It might be half an hour a week just to drop off something. It might be that you actually ask your neighbour over to have a meal. It might be that you go to someone's house and do their shopping and then eat with them. But it's this idea that everyone, rather than, they don't really want to be known as a volunteer. I don't want that label. I walk my neighbour's dog every 2 days because she's older. I don't do it because I'm a volunteer. I do it because I'm a neighbour. So the 2-hour club allows people to lean in a little bit to the people that they want to do some help with, but they don't want to be a formal volunteer. So it's a really nice way just to build abundance ultimately. And I think we are just a very quick one on the app, but you don't need to know much about it. It's a person-centered app, so it's really about Phil, back to Phil. Who is he? What makes him tick? What makes him happy? And this is a really lovely opportunity for families to go, I didn't know that when I rang you at 9 o'clock every morning, that made your day. If I knew that, I'd put you on speakerphone and make sure I parked in the garage 10 minutes later and do that. So it's those kind of simple things. The person chooses who's in their circle app, and then there's this lovely functionality. Just flick through it, it's fine. There's a wellbeing plan, which is not a care plan. It's that conversation you have about if things all go rotten, this is kind of what I want you to do. There's a common view, the calendar that everybody can see of paid and unpaid support, which is colour-coded. There's electronic visit verification. So this is not just about kumbayaing. This is about responsibility and accountability. So if I agree to turn up and work with Danielle, you know, every 2 weeks, then I actually need to check in and say I'll do it because it's real. And actually she needed me to fill in her time well. Ability to request support. So I might suddenly get an appointment, but I don't want to ring everybody. So I can request support from the app. Check in for family and friends to say, actually, if I pick up my device in the morning, you basically know I'm still breathing or someone else has picked up my device. The problem with technology, assuming I've picked it up, you know I'm okay. And you can add things like the Ask Annie, which is this beautiful dementia app, or anything else people need to the app. So that's what we're building at the moment. There we go. I'm going to stop because that was 3 minutes over. Yes. How do people get in? So what we're doing at the moment is we're seeking facilitators, circle members and circle owners. So the first thing we need is facilitators. So we've got this at the moment, if you know anyone in Hunters Hill, Canada Bay or oddly Winchester-Carribbee, we've got a program that's paid for at the moment. We're actually for free training facilitators across those areas, and they're also doing visits to nursing homes, and we're getting 3 businesses involved in each of those areas. So another piece that we're doing is that some businesses are seeing this as a great opportunity for the ESG responsibility. So here's a chance to say, actually, we want a lot of young people at work want to do something really local with that social responsibility. So here's a chance to become a facilitator, to do something local in their community, to get to know people and to build these really lovely soft skills that they bring back. We're looking for funding essentially, which is why I'm tromping the halls of Parliament a lot. DSS are really interested because it's obviously a carers piece that could be really, really important in Carers Gateway. I don't know whoever has accessed Carers Gateway. I want your signature, an autograph if you have, but it would be an amazing piece to put into Carers Gateway. So we're essentially looking for facilitators at the moment. We're working with a couple of providers who really recognise that this 12 hours isn't going to be enough, and how can they offer another piece of the puzzle. At the moment, we're charging $2,800 for a circle for a year. What does that give you, you ask? Me, perhaps, turning up at your circle for 2 hours every month and facilitating those circle meetings, and also getting the 2-hour club working around someone. So you're basically purchasing a facilitated relationship with someone for a year. And many providers who have got people with who are extremely lonely and socially isolated, who aren't using their funding, are seeing this as a great opportunity to not only build their workforce, but also to help people live longer, safer lives at home. And so what we're finding with our training is that some people that are coming in are going, I like this work, and actually I might want to work in the sector. So it is building this interest. And because we do values-based recruitment, we're working out if it's right first. But they might, think, well, actually, I would like to do support work, or I might want to go into nursing, or it might be a retired nurse who's doing it the other way as well. So it's really about, who is interested. Do you know people that might want to actually embed it in their strategy? And we've got about 6 providers that are doing that at the moment. And anyone in those 3 areas who would like to be trained as facilitators as well. Yes.
If I understood that correctly, if a provider has a client who's socially isolated, they can arrange for that client's package to pay you $2,800, and then that person will have.
Depends so they'll build a circle. So it's quite different to the aged care visitor program, where basically you're befriended. We've got a bit of an issue with befriending and disability because we don't think that we should be nominated friends. But so what we're actually putting a grant in for the aged care visitor program, so that it won't just be about that visit. It will be that visitor will have the superpower of being able to create a circle with that person, so there's more people to visit. So it depends on where you are, because we're just building circles at the moment. If you're in Penrith, we don't have facilitators there right now. But if it's in one of those 3 areas, absolutely contact me, and we could start to help that. It might even be an area where there is a provider already that's offering it. So just contact me and let me know.
But as a provider, if one of my clients is isolated, can I pay you $2,800 for anything right now? Like,
you could if you're in an area where we have a facilitator, as long as it's in an area where we're working.
Don't have a facilitator, one of our care workers couldn't become a.
You could train, absolutely. You could decide that you want to train some of your ideal care workers or team leaders in facilitation, and we'll support them through that training.
And then that client is paying the $2,800, and they're getting pretty well an immediate start to building a circle.
Yes.
Okay. And what if you've got a lot of older people? I have to say, I didn't realize it really. A lot of people just really say they have no interests. And in some ways, I mean, I'm older now. I'm not that old yet, but I am bored of a lot of things. Like I would never play with teddy bears again. That happened a long time ago. But now in my 50s, I'm bored of a lot of other things that I never knew I would get bored of. So I can see being 80, I literally might be bored of absolutely everything.
Yes.
And for me, walking on the beach, but even I'm surprised. I talk to people, they used to walk on the beach, they have 0 interest. They don't want to get their feet dirty. It's too much of a balance issue. Like, they literally want to do nothing. So I'm just wondering, how do you actually pick someone to pay $2,800 out of their package to engage in?
Because it's testing it. It's testing it from the beginning. And as I said, using those tools, you'll start to realize what matters or mattered to someone. And often it might be that they just want to have conversations and go through, I don't know, travel brochures of Italy. I don't know. And so then it's about getting more and more people who sometimes it is just sitting and watching Home and Away. I have this facilitator who I've had to sack the other day and turn her into a member because she just kept going and cleaning up this woman's house. And the woman didn't want her to clean a house. She wanted her to sit and watch Home and Away. And I said, that's what she wants. You're doing what you want, and you talk too much, and you probably need to go back to being a member. So you meet someone where they are, but there is not one case that I can think of where we haven't, just through conversation and trust building, started to find something that they aren't doing that they want to do, that some people that they might like to see more. And if we can just bring in more people to have more conversations, let's not forget there are people on the very end of the spectrum who are, hermits and deep introverts and don't want to talk to anyone. We're not going to work with those people, right? We're not silly. It's low-hanging fruit. There are enough lonely people who don't want to be lonely that we can work with those people.
The do you have some kind of a screening tool to actually, among our clients, figure out who might actually and who has 2,800 sitting in their package unused, who might actually benefit from this? Do you have
The main thing is, I said, that authority. So making sure that there's a decision, if they're not the decision maker, there's a decision maker, because we don't want to get lost in those circumstances that you know about. So we have the authority to be there. So sometimes GPs will ring us and say, you know, this person's really lonely, but we have to talk to the person. They have to be able to, behaviour is an issue. So, you know, it's okay. We're actually working with some dementia support groups at the moment in Haberfield. And so we've got some amazing, our oldest facilitator is 92. It's Val Fell, who you may know, who does the whole supported home piece. She's incredible. She runs 3 support groups. She's a facilitator. She's awesome. So making sure there's a decision maker, making sure that there's enough safety in that area that, you know, people know who we are is really important. That they have some funds available, because we'd love to do it for free, but after doing it for free for 6 months, guess what? Not sustainable. And so it's important that the people around them are supportive of it, or they can just be totally alone. Other day, got referred a man with mental health, just came out of a unit for 6 months, had nowhere to live, turned up in a place that he was given to live, knows no one, hardest client, sounds like it. After 2 weeks, I said, who do you know? He went, no one. Actually, the guy across the road chats every time I take the garbage bin out. He has a chat to me. So stalker Meredith goes over on a Tuesday night at 6 o'clock when the garbage goes out. And I did used to run government departments, but this is more fun. And start to talk to this man, and just went, oh, you know, he's just moved in. Within 3 weeks, he had him over on Friday night for drinks. This guy's actually helping a lady down the road cook Thai food, because he's a great Thai food cooker. Other people in the unit block are starting to look out for him. So it's just one step at a time. We're not going to create magic straight away, but we're meeting people where they are, recognising that most people want to thrive, not just survive. I'm going to stop there because I could talk all night. Thank you so much for listening, and come and talk.
Thanks so much. I hope everyone got something from that, and Meredith's here for the next hour, and we're all here for the next hour. We've got food and drinks still to go. So I'm going to leave it to you guys just to chat, move around, mingle. We had a great turnout. I'm very excited that we had so many people turn out. But thanks. I think we'll do it again maybe next February. I don't know, Andrew, are we going to be allowed to do it again? Do you think so? I just suppose that how clean we do it. Yeah, I know. So far, we've still got an hour. So thanks everyone for coming. Any questions, just come and have a chat with Meredith. I love the concept. I love the idea that it's going to support many people who haven't got funding, who are not quite needing support at this stage, but they're lonely. And that's what I love. I mean, if I had time and energy, I would be a facilitator, and I'd probably have 50,000 groups, but maybe when I retire. I don't know when that is. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Saying hello. Yeah, and yeah, very open to receiving this one from me, and it's like anything. I'm Danielle Roberts.